when did you get the opera bug, Megan? When did you know that you wanted to be an opera singer? Did you know that was what you always wanted to do?
Oh no, I'm kind of an odd bird. I was not born out of the womb knowing about opera. In fact, I only saw my first opera ever in my life, my junior year of high school, one with my French class. Of course, opera is so subliminally in our lives without us even knowing, cartoons and commercials. But no, I didn't grow up on music theater. I didn't grow up on opera. I grew up on rock. I grew up on, so it's funny. So my first hint of me being interested in it was indeed when we went to see, I grew up in Chicago, and my first hint of it is when my French class went to see Romeo and Juliet by Gounod. And I remembered being absolutely mesmerized at this performance at the Chicago Lyric. And my entire class was just like, so bored. This is amazing. What is this? And so for fun, just literally for fun, I started taking classical lessons, but truly just for fun. I had no intention of going into it as a profession or anything. And then my senior year, I went to my second opera, which was Carmen, again, with my French class. And that year, too, there's something called All State Theater. And it happened to be Pirates of Penzance that year. And I was cast as the lead, Mabel. So that was my first little toe into a somewhat classical world, operetta. And it wasn't until I was an undergrad when I realized, I love classical singing. I love how incredible it is. I love how it just really shows the reach of what a human voice can do. I also love languages. So opera, of course, it can encompass so many different things. So, but truly, it wasn't until I graduated grad school that I realized this is what I'd like to do for a profession. Yes, which sounds mind blowing because one would think that by the time you're like, I'm going to grad school, I'm going to conservatory, you'd think you'd know really. But I don't think a lot of people know they really want to do it as a profession until you graduate and you realize what that means. And it's
realize that they don't want to do it at all.
That too, which honestly, I think can be very difficult, but I really pat my colleagues on the back that decided it wasn't for them and they decided to pivot, because that's a hard decision to do, especially when you sacrifice so much for it. But it really is, look, it's like 0.00001% of the people that skyrocket to the top right out of school, right? Very, very few people, and very few of those people stay successful. So what no one tells you in school is what that in between is like, particularly if you're not from a wealthy family, which I'm not. I mean, we're not poor, but I had to fund myself through school and afterward. And it's hard. And it's that point when literally you're choosing, do I eat a nice meal or do I pay for my voice lesson? It's literally that. That's the moment that are you hungry enough to do this profession or not? And so it was after I graduated from grad school, that's when I knew I wanted to do this as a profession, which is wild because that wasn't that long ago.
Wow. Okay. So what was your first professional engagement then out of school?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I feel like it might have been Die Zauberflöte at Carnegie Hall, maybe, but like a concert version. Was that one of my first ones? I mean, okay, it wasn't like yesterday, but I don't know. I feel like that was definitely in there. That was one of them.
Start at the top,
Well, look, here's a fun fact though. What's interesting is just when I was about to audition for like the big houses, like the Met, is when Broadway came knocking at my door. So actually, even at this point, I have yet to audition for those huge houses, which is kind of hilarious to me that, I took a different train for a hot second. So, I think it was Die Zauberflöte, Queen. I was singing Queen of the Night, which quite frankly, I'm done with. I don't want to sing Queen anymore. I mean, I love F's, but honestly, I'd rather be the plucky bird. But yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So tell us about that transition then that you just mentioned into musical theatre. You said that you were about to audition for the major houses I know that you've done some competitions. I know you've done Operalia. So what happened next?
Oh, well, so here's an interesting thing too, even about Operalia. It's almost as if the universe was foreshadowing things to come. So, and this is how always my life has been. Things kind of drop out of the sky into my lap. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's good. I was at a dinner party near Lincoln Center, and it was after I was singing in China at the NCPA. And I came back, and the wonderful couple, Martha and Tian, who were hosting a dinner party, and the Domingos were there. And so we were all having champagne and everything. And so Placido goes to the piano and starts playing Glitter and Be Gay. And Martha, his wife, was like, you should come to Operalia. So it was with Glitter and Be Gay, with him playing the piano, us all bubbly with champagne. And so that is significant because that was one of the first times I sang that aria, actually. Fast forward a few years later, and here I am auditioning for New York City Opera for Cunegonde in their revival of Candide. And that truly is the moment that changed my life. Like my once I got cast in Candide, my career just took a huge shift, which was a gamble because I was all ready to go to Paris, sing, be at the Bastille, all of this stuff. And I was like, well, this is interesting. I should see what this is. And I'm so happy I did because, again, it's one of those kismet things. When everything is meant to happen for you, it falls into place. But you work really hard. And I never would have imagined the last few years of last 5 years, 6 years of my life would have been what they were coming from the opera world at all. Yeah. Like I never would have, if you would have told me, oh, you'll be on a Broadway stage on point in ballet shoes, singing one of the most iconic roles in Broadway, I would have been like, oh, sure. But it happened. And truly because of Candide, that's the one production that absolutely changed my life. And I'm so grateful and happy for it.
And it's just such an incredible role that really, I think, crosses the boundaries between opera and musical theatre. And I know that this is a role that you've performed all over the world, and you've had the chance to perform with Michael Tilson Thomas, I understand, who directly worked with Leonard Bernstein. What was that experience like?
Oh, incredible. MTT is it goes without saying, but he's amazing. I have been very, very lucky even with the New York City production of Candide, I was working with Hal Prince, Yes. So I'm working with people who directly had a connection to the show itself. And then, of course, right after that, Michael Tilson Thomas with the San Francisco Symphony, adore, working with someone that was a protege of Bernstein. Yet again, here I am getting this just complete gateway into the music and into this world. I couldn't be luckier, honestly. So working with him it just furthered my thirst to know more about everything. And the way that his musicality, the way that he approaches a score, the way that he approached Candide itself was also very exciting because, something as a crossover artist, and I think the reason I love Candide so much, singing Cunegonde, is you're right. It's such a blend of both worlds. And I think there's a trap, which is either someone sings it too perfectly classically, but it's so boring then, in my opinion. You need that mix of daring and danger when you sing it. And I think that's something that because of Michael Tilson Thomas, and then I also premiered it at the Opera del Liceo in Barcelona. I was like, I can't believe this has never been here. But it was interesting. Each time I've done that role, I realized, and this is not meant to be egotistical, this is a role I was always born to play. Like, this is one of them. You always know it when you feel it. She's one of them. Cunegonde is definitely, there's a reason she keeps coming back in my life. I just did it with Cincinnati Symphony, actually. And it keeps getting better and better because that blend that happens, I think I'm starting to refine it more and more because I've lived in both worlds now. So people like Michael Tilson Thomas being in Phantom and on Broadway for a few years, that's also changed the access of colors I have. It's really exciting. And I'm happy it's a role that I'm known for. And I can't wait to keep singing her.
Fantastic.